The restart of the redistricting process begins with a false start. Welcome to Columbus on the Record. The process of drawing state legislative maps was supposed to begin on Wednesday at a routine organizational meeting of the Redistricting Commission, where members are sworn in and they start to get down to business. But that did not happen.
So at this point, I would normally turn the meeting over to the co-chairs. Co-chairs are not appointed and have not been appointed. We're going to have to recess. Let me just say that I would hope that we would get the co-chairs appointed very, very soon. And I'm going to, in a moment, recess until 8 a.m. Friday morning.
The routine matter of picking the Republican and Democrat to co-lead the commission stalled when Republicans could not agree on their co-chair, and they still have not agreed. And that Friday meeting that Governor DeWine was so hopeful about, well, it was canceled. Jesse Balmert, this seems very simple. Much of this is happening behind closed doors. What is going on?
Yeah, so essentially the co-chair needs to be picked by the legislative leader of the House and the Senate, and those two individuals do not agree right now on who the co-chair should be. And to your point, this should be a very simple, kind of perfunctory part of the process. And I think we're kind of questioning whether the rest of the process will run smoothly if we can't get over this very first step.
Now, there is Matt Huffman is term limited. He's eyeing a House seat. He's eyeing the House speakership. Jason Stephens wants to be reelected. Are they trying to jockey for position to draw maps that will favor their candidacies? Is that possibly what's going on?
That is possibly what's going on. Right now, neither candidate has officially declared for the speakership. I presume Speaker Stephens would like to continue to be speaker. He was elected earlier this year with support from Democrats over the objections of some Republicans, and so he's in an interesting position. And then, to your point, Matt Huffman has expressed some interest in running for the House and potentially leading the House at some point. And so that really underscores the background of this co-chair discussion.
There's 7 members on this commission, Mike. They all have an equal voting power. 5 Republicans, 2 Democrats. The co-chair is, I want to say symbolic, but it seems kind of symbolic. How about just rock, paper, scissors? Get it over with.
Yeah, that might be the best policy at the end of the day. And I agree with everything you just said, Mike. Look, the Secretary of State sent out a letter on August 30th saying, here's the timeline to get this done to have a successful March 2024 primary. So the bottom line is this all should be wrapped up by next Friday. And I'm going to predict, regardless of who the chair is, it might end up being just Keith Faber if they can't. The legislative leaders can't agree, not a bad choice, that we're going to have maps. They're not going to be dramatically changed, and we're going to move forward. The congressional maps are set. We're probably good until 2030 on the congressional maps. But by next Friday, we're going to have the co-chairs, and the Democrats have to name someone too. They haven't done it yet. And we'll have maps, and I'm willing to predict solidly here that the maps won't be any different or very little different than what they currently are.
Democrats have not named their co-chair, but they say they're waiting to see who the Republican co-chair is, and they'll try to match wits or something. But Morgan, does this not make the case, now we'll forget about this in a year, but does this not make the case that politics should be out of this process?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is pretty clear evidence that we cannot leave something like drawing the districts for our elected representation to politicians that, as Jesse was saying, they have so many different factors that they're considering. It's not about how do we draw the fairest map that's going to lead to the best representation for the people. It's how can I jockey and use this process to advance my own political career. It's really a shame.
Mike, to your point, Matt Huffman said that these maps will be bipartisan. Republicans have had this process in their control since 2011. It has hardly been bipartisan. They have more power now than they had then. Why would they make these maps bipartisan?
Well, they do their best they can. If the Democrats choose to vote no every time, you can blame it on the Democrats. And I think the House Republicans and the statewide officers have drawn fair and balanced maps. Lines drawn for Democrats, Republicans are winning. They're running better candidates with better ideas.
You can't say that this is not gerrymandered. This is objectively, these maps are gerrymandered.
I disagree, Mike. At the end of the day, a Democrat runs, a Republican runs, and the voters decide. Every time. There are lines drawn for Democrats. Look, we have Michelle Reynolds. Tina Mahara used to be New Albany's Democrat senator. She lost with the lines drawn for her to a Republican because she was a better candidate with better ideas.
Morgan?
It's just, it's tough to take that line of reasoning seriously. I mean, clearly there is a huge advantage for Republicans that are drawing these districts, that are choosing them and cherry picking the drawing of these districts and the boundaries to make sure that they're favoring themselves to win these seats. So, one case of a seat flipping, I'm sorry to admit, is not evidence of some kind of fair process overall.
We want to get to the effort to change the process. There is an effort, Jesse Balmet, right now to get on the ballot in 2024 to establish a 15-member, what they call a completely independent commission. Dave Yost has, for the second time, rejected petition language, saying it's not truthful or accurate. What's his reasoning this time?
Yeah, so he was looking at the language and kind of the way that the partisans were defined and said that that wasn't specific enough in the summary. And so the group will go back and try again. This is a group that is led or, prominently involved is former Ohio Supreme Court Chief Justice Maureen O'Connor, who was kind of the deciding vote in a lot of these redistricting decisions in 2022. And so we will see what happens with this process. They are aiming for the November 2024 ballot.
Morgan, is the Attorney General correct here? Was it not properly defined, the political affiliation part, and particularly the folks who will choose the members of this commission?
I mean, that's not my area of expertise,
Sure.
so I can't say for sure, but I do think the most important thing is that we move through this process of nailing down the language as quickly as possible, because as we've been discussing, I mean, the political process leading to the drawing of our maps is resulting in unconstitutional maps. We can no longer rely on our Supreme Court or judicial system to fix this, and so we need to turn the power over to the people to make sure that we're able to look out for ourselves.
Can an attorney always find something wrong with legal language, Mike, and might this just go on forever? And Dave Yost saying, nope, fix this, nope, fix this, nope, fix that.
He could do that. I mean, look, if they don't meet the legal standard, they don't meet the standard, and that's Dave's job to make sure they do. Look, Dave said that the Planned Parenthood met their standard on the first attempt, and he makes these decisions not based on his personal views, but what the law says. And if the group that's trying to change our system to re-gerrymander with their own 15 independent in air quotes people, then they have to get the language right. They have the courts to go to if they disagree with Dave. But at the end of the day, Mike, Dave's doing his job, without putting his personal opinion in there. We'll be on the ballot most likely, and then the voters will decide.
Okay, let's get to our next topic. When you watch football this weekend, you likely will see the start of what will be the first of many TV ads in the campaign for and against November's abortion rights amendment. Abortion rights supporters are out with their first ad. It's a pretty standard spot. It says reproductive medical decisions should be left to people and their doctors, not the government. It claims Ohio's current but on hold 6-week abortion ban is extreme and includes no exceptions for rape or incest. No doubt, abortion rights opponents soon plan to launch their TV ad campaign. Jesse Balmet, a quick fast check on the ad. It seemed like a pretty straightforward ad. Were there any red flags in the ad as far as facts or what was said, what wasn't said?
Yeah, so they mentioned a few different things. They mentioned access to abortion and miscarriage care and contraception or birth control. And really the focus of this issue has been on abortion access because that is what has been up for debate in the Ohio legislature and would be changed most prominently in this constitutional amendment. There really hasn't been very much in the legislature to address miscarriage care one way or the other. And then contraception is really up to your definition. Like if you think that there is going to be a push to define life as beginning at conception, that could potentially affect some versions of birth control, but we have not seen that measure get through the Ohio legislature.
Mike, when does the ad campaign begin for your side?
Soon. You'll start seeing every day you turn on the TV, not just football Saturdays from us. But look, at the end of the day, the ad is a lie and deceptive. No one's going to fact check it, but we will. We'll do our job. Current law is 5 months pain capable for you can have an abortion up to and through the 5th month of pregnancy or right around the 5th month of pregnancy for rape, incest, life of the mother, or for choice. That's current law. The ad didn't say that. Birth control, there is no law against birth control, Mike, currently. There's no proposal.
Mike, hold on. That law is been superseded by the so-called heartbeat law, which is on hold. And if a judge rules that the 6-week abortion ban is legal and does not violate the Constitution, something you say it does not, that law will go into effect, the 6-week abortion ban.
Yeah, Governor Mike DeWine over 2.5 years ago signed the heartbeat bill. It's not been in effect for a little less than 30 days before it was put on hold.
But that is the current law, but
no,
it's
the
on
current
hold.
law in Ohio
I
is
know.
5 months.
I know.
It is 5 months. There's no rule. There's no law against birth control at all. No one's proposing it. That law is full of loopholes. And what's extreme is Planned Parenthood's effort to put late-term abortion in the Constitution, but no one's fact-checking their ad.
Let's fact check that for a sec. Late-term abortion.
Yes.
You point to that all the time. And the facts are that less than 1% of abortions in Ohio occur after week 21, not 8th month, not 7th month, not 6th month, but after week 21. And that is allowed in the cardiac activity law that is on hold right now. And here is the provision in that law that says that the life of the mother is there. This section does not apply to a physician who performs or induces the abortion if the physician believes that a medical emergency, as defined in section 2919 of .16 of the revised code. If you go to 2919.16, here's what that says. Post-viability abortion exceptions. Medical emergency means a condition that, in the physician's good faith medical judgment, based on the facts known to the physician at the time, so complicates the woman's pregnancy as to necessitate the immediate performance or inducement of an abortion in order to prevent the death of the pregnant woman or to avoid a serious risk of the substantial and irreversible impairment of a major bodily function of the pregnant woman that delay in the performance or inducement of the abortion could create. That is current law. That's the heartbeat law. It allows abortion, in theory, up to the 8th and 9th month, if it meets that exception. Why is this amendment any different than that?
Because the heartbeat law is not the law in Ohio. It has been enjoined
But it
by a
will be if
local.
the court agrees to it.
But you're making an assumption that the court will agree
So
to
you
it.
think the court, it's done? The court won't
They
make
haven't
the
done
heartbeat
anything
law?
with it.
Okay.
I don't. You don't know. I
Let's,
don't
for
know.
the sake of argument, say the law that is on the books, the heartbeat law that's on hold, is put into effect. It allows abortions, if it meets that criteria, up until really the 9th month. Why is that not happening now?
Because it's illegal now under our current law,
No,
which is the pain-capable law. I helped
That
write
law
it.
has the same provision as this one.
Yeah, we always support life of the mother, Mike. We do. And the reason why there aren't late-term abortions in Ohio now for any reason whatsoever is because it's illegal.
It will be illegal it's illegal if you don't meet those criteria.
Not under what Planned Parenthood is proposing. They say, if you want to put that on the screen too, the state shall make no law that directly or indirectly interferes with an individual's right to have an abortion. That is their language, Mike.
If the health of the mother is in danger, you can post viability.
Or for any reason if a physician feels otherwise. We can put the language
Morgan,
back
go
out there.
ahead.
Yeah, well, I'll just say a couple of things. I mean, one, just a bit of a personal connection to this and related to the ad. I thought one of the effective things about the ad when people see it is that it's drawing on what I view as a really relatable experience for Ohioans. I have a friend from Catholic school growing up who told me, she struggled with a pregnancy where she was facing some tough decisions and also has her faith. She is very observant Catholic. And knowing that she had to reconcile those things, but landing on a place of, I'm going to be supporting this amendment because I want to make sure that every woman has the ability to make her own decisions. And that was an evolution that she had experienced over the course of her life. And so, the ad was drawing on these themes of faith, of freedom, of the need for families to make these decisions on their own. And I think it's really realistic and where a lot of people are falling.
The late-term abortion could be seen as a red herring because it simply does not happen very often. It's the same both all due respect to Mike, it's the same in both laws. Parental consent is an issue in this. The new amendment does not allow for it does not include an exception for minors to have to get their parents' consent to have an abortion, which is the law right now in Ohio. That law could be challenged if this amendment were to pass. Should that have been in this amendment?
Well, I mean, I come back to the same theme, is that as a person who is facing healthcare decisions, those are complicated and difficult for the state to get too involved in. And, I'm not part of drafting this language and, part of the ballot initiative team, but I just think as a person living in this state, I believe strongly in the ability for women to make their own decisions and manage their own reproductive care.
Not a 12, 13, 14-year-old girl going without mom and dad knowing or not. Even if they wanted to object, they wouldn't be able to under this extreme abortion amendment, Mike. That's what we're facing. That's why even pro-choice women are saying this is a bridge too far. Take parents out of the equation. That's a deal killer for even pro-choice women.
All right, we will debate this further in the weeks ahead. Moving on. This November's suddenly high-profile election is overshadowing the start of the U.S. Senate campaign. But just 6 months from now, Republican voters will choose their candidate. One of those contenders, Secretary of State Frank LaRose, is involved in another controversy. He wants to relocate the Secretary of State's office to a new location, to the same building listed as his campaign office. LaRose says it's coincidental. He says it will save taxpayers $11,000 a year in rent. Democrats point out at that rate it would take decades to pay back the $600,000 it would cost to move the office. Mike Gonadakis, we just finished the U.S. Open tennis tournament where they have unforced errors. Is this an unforced error on the part of the Secretary of State? Why pick that building?
Yeah, no, I think it's nonsense from local media and his detractors at best. You know, he's been working on this for over a year. I spoke with him to do this move. Look, the board and building downtown, I don't know if you guys have been in it, it's almost in receivership, it's bankrupt. No one can get anything fixed. The lights don't work, the doorknobs don't work. They don't have the technology. It's 2023 and they have 1980s technology in the building. They had to move, whether the Secretary of State's Jennifer Brunner or Frank LaRose, you have to get out of the building. They're not using over 3/4 of one floor that taxpayers are paying for. He moved it. Now, it's in a building where his designated treasurer, his lawyer is. The campaign office is not in that building where they're moving to. All the campaign staff, I asked, is working from home to save money for the campaign. So they're not moving into their campaign headquarters. That's where their designation of treasurer is located, whatever the law firm is that's doing his work. So this is much ado about nothing.
Morgan?
Well, you know, having living downtown, there's a lot of available buildings to choose from. So it is a bit of a curious coincidence that Frank LaRose finds himself landing in the same spot as the treasurer. I wonder also if it's possible that eventually campaign staff might be moving into that building later on as the campaign progresses. But overall, I think we're seeing that Frank LaRose has some questionable political judgment in certain moments as this campaign has gotten off out of the gate, and probably doesn't bode well for where he's headed.
Jesse, where does this? It's 6 months. It seems like it's a long way away, but we vote in March in the primary. Ohioans do. This campaign is kind of being overshadowed by the abortion rights campaign and the marijuana campaign, which will get going here soon.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting because even just talking with editors, they're like, well, once we get past November, we'll think about March. And I was like, that's going to be right around the corner, everyone. So I think we're already going to see a lot of ads between the candidates and the Republican side in particular. This is really a 3-person race, and so it's way less crowded than it was the last time. And so that allows you to see a little bit more of the personalities of the candidates, and I think you're going to learn a lot about these 3 candidates in the next few months.
Can they afford to run ads during the fall with all the other ads running right now?
Geez, Mike, that's a good question. It's expensive. Trust me, I know, to run a 30-second commercial during an Ohio State football game, let alone statewide in 7 to 10 different media markets. So I think they'll probably keep their powder dry until after the first of the year and then go heavy leading up to March.
Sherrod Brown, he's not running. He doesn't face a primary opponent, but you know, we're about a year away from when he will face his opponent, whoever wins the Republican primary. The polls show it's pretty close. Frank LaRose is basically tied the last public poll. Bernie Moreno, the businessman from Cleveland, and Matt Dolan, the state senator, a little bit behind there, but it's going to be a tough fight for him as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very tight no matter who comes through the Republican primary, but Sherrod Brown will have the advantage of all of these efforts with the first issue 1 campaign of this year, the second issue 1 campaign of this year. You know, a lot of that organizing is going to feed right into his campaign, and I think he'll be well prepared for November.
All right, education made big news this week. The state came out with its annual report cards. It is using a new scoring system, no more letter grades, but stars, 1 star to 5 stars, 5-star being the best. Urban school districts fared worse than affluent suburban districts, no surprise there. Columbus received a rating of 2 stars. New Albany and Upper Arlington got 5 stars across the board. Morgan Harper, it doesn't matter which scoring system we use, letter grades, numbers, stars. Urban districts always fare much worse than wealthy suburban districts. Why can't we fix this?
Well, we've known for some time, pretty much my entire adult life, that the way that we fund our public schools is unconstitutional, based on property taxes. This is further evidence of that. The fact that we have no political will to do anything about it is a tragedy for a lot of our children. And let's be clear, there is no future for Ohio or Columbus being a Silicon Heartland or whatever we want to call it if we have one of the largest school districts in the state that suffers at these low levels of achievement. It's a major issue.
But critics point to the Columbus schools do get a lot of money. They have a lot of money, yet they have not improved, even though we passed, there's another levy on the ballot in November. We've passed, the voters in Columbus have passed levy after levy. State funding has increased, yet they still at 2 stars.
Well, so we have a levy that's going to be on the ballot this November. This is the first levy for Columbus City Schools since 2016. So it has been several years that we've had a levy in Columbus. And I think we also need to be honest about the fact that the Columbus district, like a lot of urban districts, is facing different types of challenges with their student bodies than an Upper Arlington, than a New Albany, than a more affluent district. We have to address the elephant in the room, which is economics, poverty, and a lot of kids who have a lot of complex issues that they and their families are coming to the classroom with, and that is not the same situation in a lot of the suburban districts.
Given that, Mike, should these grades be weighted a little bit based on income? Because it's really not fair to compare Upper Arlington or Bexley or New Albany and the communities there to Columbus, or even the southwestern city schools or a poor rural district.
No, I think it'd be too complicated because 2 + 2 = 4, whether you live in a poor zip code or a rich zip code, for lack of a better term. Look, at the end of the day, Columbus Public Schools gets more money than any rich white suburban school in the state of Ohio. They have $1 billion budget. They have hundreds of million dollars of cash reserve, and now they want another $100 million. You throw all the money you want at it, but if you have a weak school board and you have parents that aren't holding their kids responsible, I mean, we have 13-year-olds killing 15-year-olds at Easton. What the heck's going on in this town? We got to look at the leadership in this town. I know this November, abortion and weed are the big issues, but there are school board races across the state. If you don't like your kid's school right now, vote for the other guy or gal.
But as to Morgan's point, a lot of those problems are based on the fact that it's lower income. They don't have the economic resources that New Albany or Bexley has.
Well, let's face it, Mike, if we just went on property taxes alone, New Albany and Bexley would keep more of their money, but they give more money to schools like Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. So they're not keeping all the money that they raise off their property taxes. It's going. And I think the legislature and the governor's done a great job putting money in the 3 big C's. It's just, what are they doing with it? We need to hold the school boards accountable.
Also this week, we learned that a lot of newly eligible families are taking advantage of private school vouchers. A USA Today Ohio analysis found more than 70,000 students have applied for the vouchers. The program could cost, according to the analysis, the state $432 million this year. That's $34 million more than predicted. Jesse Balmert, the Legislative Service Commission objectives said that this is going to cost a lot of money. It's costing even more than they predicted.
Yeah, I think we can debate whether this is a good policy or a bad policy, and probably our panelists will, but it is ultimately an expensive policy. And I think every state where this has been rolled out, like for example in Arizona, it has been more expensive than the estimates. And so Ohio perhaps could have learned from other states, and we'll see what the ultimate cost of this policy is.
Do we know who is accepting these vouchers? Is it new students to private schools, or is it just the parents realizing that these are out here now and they're going to apply for them? We're already in the schools.
Well, I mean, it is a policy that we now have in Ohio, so you can't really fault people for taking advantage of it, and and they are. So a lot of it is current private school students.
This can't be sticker shock. We knew this was going to happen.
Sure, and I hope it happens even more. I'd rather drain every dollar we have in our state coffers to make sure every kid, regardless of what zip code they live in, can go to a good school, because that will force the bad schools to get better. Look, why should you be stuck in a bad school in the city of Columbus when now you have the opportunity to get out and go somewhere else, whether it be to another public, a parochial school, whatever. It's the greatest civil rights issue we have, is to make sure our kids get educated regardless of where they live. And if they have to leave their current school to go somewhere else, so be it. Now they have the money to do it.
Morgan, what about that competition argument? Should it not cause public schools to step up their game?
Well, first, I don't know that it's totally clear that just because you're leaving the public school district and using a voucher to go to a private school that you're necessarily getting a better education. Do we have the accountability that's showing that? We need to look at the data. And overall, I mean, yes, the focus should be on how we are preparing our children, our young people in Ohio to be ready for the future. But I'm not sure that this falsehood that somehow there's no opportunity cost to funneling this much money into a voucher program that, as you've mentioned, in certain cases is helping families that are well resourced is the best idea, and that it's not taking away resources from our public school system.
Jesse, what is this financial situation? Is this, the more money that goes to the vouchers, does it directly take away from school funding, or is the legislature trying to do something else?
The legislature, I believe, is trying to directly fund this voucher system, but
It all comes out of the same pot at some point.
I mean, ultimately, it's all Ohio taxpayer money, so.
Yeah. Mike, should there be a cap on how much money goes to these vouchers?
No, I don't think so. Education and our children are the most important asset we have, not roads, not bridges, not our homes, our
What if it
children.
takes away from other education funding?
It doesn't matter. Making sure our K through 12 kids get the best education they possibly can is the most important thing.
How about making sure that these private schools face the same standards as public schools?
I think they do. To be accredited in their lanes, whatever those lanes are, they do have to meet accrediting standards based on their industry standards. So, I don't know of any schools that are out there just quietly passing kids that don't read and write.
Let's get to our final off-the-record parting shots. Morgan Harper, you're up first.
Yeah, so we learned this week that Amazon, one of the largest and most profitable companies in the world, will continue to get tax breaks as they build out data centers. And just want to continue to emphasize here that Amazon does not equal Intel. Amazon is building data centers. Those are not long-term jobs, and they are draining a lot of natural resources from our local environment as they get these tax breaks.
Mike, go to Dawkins.
Very bad, awful week for President Joe Biden. Impeachment proceedings started. His son, Hunter Biden, indicted on federal gun charges. Horrific polling numbers came out for him. And then the United Auto Workers strike. And Politico today, I don't know what he's done. The United Auto Worker president's hometown, auto workers lash out at Biden. Has he hit rock bottom?
Jesse.
The top Senate Democrat shared something on Twitter, which was a stick figure banging its head against a wall. And if that does not represent our redistricting process, we'll find out.
Stick figure concussions would be the next healthcare worry. I'll lighten that up a bit. The Ohio State University Buckeyes play Western Kentucky this weekend. Buckeyes are undefeated. They have trounced their two opponents. Likely will do the same thing this week. And I predict that even if that happens, many Buckeye fans will still not be satisfied. Anyway, that is Columbus on the Record for this week. Please continue the conversation on Facebook. You can watch us anytime on your time at our website, wosu.org/COTR, or you can watch us on the PBS video app. You can download that to your smartphone, your iPad, or your computer. For our crew here at WOSU and our panel, I'm Mike Thompson. Have a good week.